Welcome to this tutorial on creating the right content that ranks. So the question I want to ask you, what is the most important position in the search engine? I had an opportunity to ask someone that today, and she said ranking in position 1, 2, or 3. And that's what most people would think. But rather, I want to teach you today how to get your content to rank for position 0, or what is also known as the snippet. So here are some examples. We have dark pop genre, and as you can see right above the Wikipedia URL, there is what is called the snippet of answering the question of what is dark pop genre. We can also see this in finding restaurant reviewers. And instead of having a very encyclopedia answer, we have a list here that is answering the question of where can I find restaurant reviewers. And finally, how to body surf. This we don't have any text. Instead, we have a video here that shows how to body surf. So all three of these are snippets or position 0 in the ranking. Now, before I can jump in and really show you how to capture that position for SEO, there are a couple things you need to be aware of. First, I've talked in previous tutorials about the concept of EAT, which Google introduced to its Google reviewers in 2015 and then later updated it in 2018 on what exactly they should be looking for with quality sites. So the E of EAT is expertise, and we can see here from the Oxford English Dictionary that expertise is defined as expert skills or knowledge in a particular field. So this means that you're expected to have deep knowledge on what you are sharing on your website, with the expectation that people that come to your site are going to compare your knowledge with your competitors. But ultimately, what you want to do with your expertise is to stand out on the subject matter. Next is authoritativeness. And this is really talking about authority and is defined as able to be trusted to be accurate or true. The underlying principle of authority is your reputation and how that sets you apart from your competition. And a good way to know that you have authority is that your site is seen as the go-to place for information on that topic. And finally, you need to understand that authority is a relative concept. Just because you're an authority on one topic does not mean you're an authority on another. So just because Elon Musk is an authority on alternative energy does not make him an authority on fine dining. Finally, the T in EAT is trustworthiness, and is defined as the ability to be relied on as honest or truthful. What is really important here with trustworthiness is that your site is legitimate, transparent, accurate with its content. So what's important to trustworthy is that your content is polished. One, it doesn't have spelling errors, it's accurate on the advice that it gives, and ultimately it is seen as a source that people can trust. And that's easier said than done. You can create tons of content, but if it isn't trusted, it's not going to help you with the search engines. And Google is particularly looking to see if you are a website that it can send its searchers to for accurate information, for quality information, and information that's not going to lead them astray. And one of the ways to establish trustworthiness is having trustworthy websites link to you. This is an indicator to Google that you are trustworthy, because trustworthy sites don't want to link to sites that give bad information or are spammy. Okay, so that is a high level of EAT, which is expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. But there still is one thing you need to know about before we dive into creating your content, and that is YMYL, which is your money, your life. And Google looks at this as critical advice that can negatively impact your life if it is wrong. And Google is particularly concerned that medical, legal, and financial websites are accurate. And Google has even expanded your money, your life into other topics like e-commerce, travel, and entertainment. And so YMYL and EAT correlate with each other. If you have a high-ranking YMYL, you're going to have quality EAT signals as well. And ultimately, what Google's trying to achieve is that the users have a very positive, safe experience with your content. And as you're looking to develop your content, these factors are absolutely essential. And so I'm going to show you how to create content that satisfies both these areas and satisfies Google. So starting out, and I know you have heard this over and over with me, your article titles are essential. The first thing to look at with your title is that you can only have 60 characters or less. And the reason for that is Google takes your title and uses it in the search engines. And so we've talked about title tags, which is ultimately your title. We can see here on this search query of pregnancy prep, these 3 different results are just really the title of that page. And so all content management systems, no matter what you're using, will take the title of your article and apply it to the title of the page. So this is why you have to have 60 characters or less, because if you look at that first result there, pregnancy prep, reproductive system support, and then 60, and then you see the 3 dots, ... This is saying there is more content. This means that this title is longer than what Google is going to show. So if you keep it 60 or less, you'll never get those dreaded 3 ... As I've had you create articles in the past, I've had you use the co-schedule headline score, and you've had to have a 70 or higher. And we've talked about how this really helps you create titles that people click on. And that's why I really push you to have a 70 or higher on your article title. Included in that is making sure that you have a promise to the user. As we discussed in the last tutorial, this really helps draw the user into your article and helps Google understand the search intent you're trying to answer. And then finally, when you create your title, just make sure that you capitalize the first letter in each word. Next, let's talk about your introduction. So this isn't too hard. You're just looking at 2 to 3 sentences, and you want to give confidence to the reader that you are going to answer their question. Something that is really important is that you want to have the keyword or a variation of that keyword in your introduction. So Google knows that this is what your website is about. By having the keyword, you are also helping in another area of the search results, because this is normally what Google takes as your default meta description. And again, we've talked about what meta descriptions are, but I just want to highlight when I'm looking here at this search query of Hawaiian gift, that the meta description are these 3 descriptions of what you're going to click on. So it's important by having the keyword in your introduction. It can also be pulled into your meta description, and you can see on the first result where they have check out our Hawaiian gifts, and that matches what the searcher is looking for. After you've created your introduction, now you're going to do something that a lot of people are not familiar with, and this is where you can capture the snippet in Google, and this is your answer section. Your answer section is up to 300 characters. It directly answers the question that the user is searching for. And so this goes all the way back to your content mapping and your keyword research when we looked at what was the search intent. Because if you're able to answer that question in this section, Google's going to put you for position 0. And you usually want to format this as a paragraph, but as we saw at the very beginning, there's a lot of ways the snippet is used. So you want to make sure you take a look at the search query and that you are creating a snippet that Google's going to use. One way to help Google understand that this is the snippet is to bold the answer, if it makes sense. It doesn't always have to happen, but it is helpful. And here you want to write your high-level answer as if you're an encyclopedia or Wikipedia. So here's an example of the answer section. So here we can see for how are snowmobiles cooled, they bolded it. It's not long. So even though your whole article is how are snowmobiles cooled, you're only giving a very high-level answer, so it's something that Google can pull and put into its search results. Now, after the answer section, you want to convince the reader to continue on. And so here, this isn't long. This is 1 to 3 sentences, and you're really trying to show the reader that you have more to say on this subject. And so if we look at our last example on cooling snowmobiles, they're really saying, hey, we've got a lot more to share than just this quick answer that you're seeing above. And this is essential in obviously getting them to stay on your website and finish the article, which Google definitely looks at. You want to keep the user there as long as possible to satisfy exactly the answer that they have. So next, you're going to have a subheading that's just going to dive deeper into this subject. You want it formatted as H2. I took a screenshot of Google Docs just to help you see exactly what H2 is. It's heading 2 here, and heading 1 is generally for titles. Heading 2 is for your subheadings, and you can even do heading 3s, but heading 2s tell Google, hey, this is a section of my article. And for your subheadings, you don't need to worry about a co-schedule score, but you should still keep the same principles in mind, but you don't have to be frustrated on trying to get a 70 on that. But you do want to make sure that your title has a user promise, that it ties to the main question that you're trying to answer. And then ultimately, this section just provides detailed info on the main answer. After the subheading, you're going to have the detailed answer. This is what you're giving the user to show more value to what you have to offer. And this is multiple paragraphs. It's a much more in-depth answer to the main question. And you're really trying to make it so the reader has no doubts at all on the question you're trying to answer. Ultimately, you want to create the most in-depth solution to the searcher's question on the web, period. If you do this, Google is going to rank you. And I can't stress this enough. I know you may see all over the web, create quality content. But I'm here to tell you it's true. If you can create the best article on the topic, Google is the most powerful search engine company on the planet, and their job is to find the best answer. And so you got to trust that process. And one way to really help Google see that you are the best is not just having tons and tons and tons of text, but breaking things up with tables, graphs, quotes, lists, images, infographics, anything to really just add more value to your article. And so a great example of this is the search query, how to decorate your home. And if you look at this article here, they have lots of visuals around their answer to the question of how to decorate your home. And if you look at all the other results on this query, they're very similar, and they're helping people see visually this is what you can do to decorate your house. So this is the last section of your article. What you're doing here is this covers any additional aspects of the main topic. Again, with this section, you're going to have multiple subheadings with user promises, but what is critical here is not to stray from the main topic. But at the same time, you want to figure out what is the reader's next question and be able to tie that back to the overall answer of your topic. And like all the others, it's really helpful to have things to break it up to help people find value, like we saw on the last slide with images, if that makes sense for your search query, tables, videos, quotes. This really helps bring the user deep into your article. And so here we have an article that's called Do Rattlesnakes End Up in Toilets? And this goes to your money, your life sort of question here. You've got to make sure that you get this right. So you can see the very first paragraph tells them that they should call animal control. If they said, hey, you should take this into your own hands, and it's okay, you might get bit, but you'll be fine, Google's not going to rank this. In this more info section, they have additional questions that go along with Do Rattlesnakes End Up in Toilets? The only thing that I think they could improve here is not just having text. If they can get images, if they can show comparisons, or what I would personally do here, create a very simple visual tutorial that walks the user through it so they can see it and not just have to read it. So that's it. That is how you can create content that captures the coveted snippet or position 0 and also answers Google's EAT and your money or your life. Here's a quick checklist to help you as you create your content. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave comments on the video, or if you're in my class, feel free to reach out to me and we can go over any of these areas to help you create the best content possible. All right, I will see you in the next tutorial.